This is fine. Hello, I am Bookface, and today we are talking about some very angry lizards on way too many steroids. I mean some seriously thick lizards. Seriously, like murder. Just like a beast that needs, in my opinion deserves, no introduction. Dragons. Now you might be asking, what is my beef with dragons? Well, actually, the fact that my beef is with dragons is exactly the issue.
Gonna follow you, jerk. Give me back Bessie.
Shockingly enough, both research and scripting are significantly harder when the creature you're studying is more well known in folklore. Now that might seem kinda counterintuitive, maybe. I don't know. I'll check a dictionary and see if that's correct, but it might not be. Because the thing is, you get a lot of unnecessary stuff that's repeated over and over and over again. It's like the mitochondria. Studying dragons are like mitochondria. They are the powerhouse of the mythological cell. And I will destroy them. You get a lot more just useless info that doesn't really pertain to anything you're researching. A lot of just tangential stuff that really doesn't help with the research. And sometimes you just get flat out BS from whatever movie series happens to include them and makes up their own facts. That's sure fun with dragons. There's a lot of stuff about dragons having these elemental whatevers, the ice dragon specifically.
It's a gimmick, you fools. The draconic propaganda never ends.
Sorry, I kind of went somewhere. And more of a me thing, when you research these things a lot, every resource kind of covers the same basics every time. So it gets kind of old after hearing it a million times, even if it was super interesting the first time. Ah, so they're based on snakes. Alright, so they're based on snakes. Right, they're based on snakes. Oh, cool, they're based on snakes. Oh wow. Snakes. Snakes. But considering I'm also covering the basic stuff too, I guess I can't actually complain. I guess I'm kind of doing the exact thing I'm complaining about. So what is the point of all this? There isn't one. I just am padding out that runtime because... But of course, the whole point is to these little sections that say the same thing is because everyone wants to explain the basic things to the people who don't necessarily know it and haven't heard it a million times. So I have to remember that. Also, I have a deep-seated bitterness towards dragons, and I cannot stop that. And with all that out of the way, let's jump right in. Woo! The European dragon, one of the most basic names for a creature I think I've had yet. This is what you typically think of when you hear the word dragon. This is the dragoniest dragon. Therefore, it is exactly what you expect. Hi, basic dragon. Are you a dragon? Yes, dragon. I don't really know where I went with that one either, actually. And these were most commonly, talked about and recorded in the European Middle Ages. They typically had 4 legs, 2 big old bat-like wings, and they usually breathe fire. They can also have any additional numbers of features beyond the typical, including, but not limited to, horns, forked tongues, spines, and much, much more. Oh, so you can get the basic or the basic deluxe. How many microtransactions does that cost? So the dragon is obviously a very significant, magical kind of creature, but its blood was also very significant, sometimes being used for a special magic ingredient, or also poison, or acid. I wonder when they say acid, do they mean the bad kind of acid or the good kind of acid? Why do I always bring up drugs? No, don't read into it. They're often known for keeping large collections of gold and treasure, commonly likening them to greed. Capitalism, my old nemesis, so we meet again. Or will this meeting also cost us a microtransaction? Malevolent dragons were almost solely just sort of the adversary for a noble hero, and, didn't really have much other role. They bad. That is their existence. So I guess all these dragons get to say is, night, night. But there were also more kind and benevolent dragons like this that would give advice and share wisdom. Oh yeah, something people seem to forget. Dragons could talk a lot of times. I feel like that's not really touched on much. But yeah, they could talk. It's a little odd. Next up we have the worm. It can also be spelled as worm, orm, worm, or just worm. if you're boring. These dragons got no legs. So they're very snack indeed. By my scientific deductions, very snack. The head is described as being sort of like a dragon, apparently, though it was also sometimes described as horse-like. But I love the idea that they're like, oh, what does the head of this dragon look like? A dragon, man, I don't know. Dragon? They often had really big horns, but always had big old eyes and real big fangs. It just sounds like snake. Sometimes they would breathe fire or poison. Ever been in a situation where your breath just smells so bad that everyone dies? Usually they just think you're ugly, but, they die. No, these dragons were basically always malevolent. I don't think they talked. I don't think they pontificated life's issues. Is that the right word? I don't need to use these words. I don't write these down. I'm like, yes, pontificate. Let me use that in this video where I rant about dragons. They inhabited swamps and other wet places, listed in my sources as dank locations. Sometimes forget the meaning of the word dank. So they could also be in lakes and wells. Well, what have we here? It was typically thought to be really fast and also significantly less supernatural than other kinds of dragons, so is it literally just a snake? Alright. Lastly, we have the wyvern, sometimes called the wyvern, or at least spelled that way. If you do call it that, please leave. But be sure to like, comment, and subscribe before you do. Wyverns have a snake head, 2 legs, 2 bat-like wings, and a long barbed tail. And I'm sure you've probably known this if you know anything about dragons, because people don't let up on the fact that, hey, if it has 2 legs, it's a wyvern. If it has 4 legs, then it's a dragon. That's such a pedantic thing to get on. Dragon is such a vague term nowadays anyways, why are you like, that's a wyvern, idiot, you loser. People need to calm down. And it was sometimes a heraldic beast, which means that a bunch of Europeans did a bunch of fan art, typically in England and France. In heraldry, they represented war, envy, pestilence, and spite. Basically, this is the knockoff brand of the 4 Horsemen of the Apocalypse, except they're all dragons. Not gonna lie, it sounds kind of cool. They were super destructive and wrecked everything in sight. In some recountings, they were so big, they'd eat elephants. And okay, sure, that's not too... it's obviously, that's pretty big if they're gonna eat an elephant, but, I'm sure there are tons of animals that eat elephants that are smaller than elephants. No, but the way they'd eat these elephants is they'd scoop them up in 1 foot, like a hawk, and fly into the air with the elephant. Do you know how massive that thing would have to be if it could just scoop up an elephant? It was also often compared in this to The Rock.
Not you, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. We're not talking about you. We're talking about a really big bird.
And there we have 3 dragons. I feel like my sanity is very limited in this video, and I feel like it's been very limited recently, which is why I've pushed this video back a lot. So, I have... You know what, I don't even know what that meant, but I'm gonna leave it in because I feel like that's the only accurate representation of my mental state right now. If you like this, please leave a thumbs up, comment down below, and subscribe, and I'll... Bessie! Okay, you're cool for this time, dragon, but you better not steal my cows again. Alright, bye.